Welcome to Stride University. In this tutorial is going to be a little bit longer today because I'm going to be going over setting up employees and time tracking and some like permissions in the system. So we're going to be kind of exploring, a few different apps today, and this is specifically geared toward kind of a retail setup, but if you're using like manufacturing and other things, you can still use this. But I want to kind of give you a brief overview of the apps we'll be using. We'll be using the Settings app, and this is to grant user permissions and kind of show what level of access that people will have. The employees, so you can set up employee profiles. An employee doesn't have to have a user profile per se, and the attendances module, as well as the point of sale. So, and if you remember, if you've gone through and looked at kind of the setting up employees in Stride, there's a couple of different ways we can do this. So, but today we're gonna go through and assume that what we're gonna do is enable, in order to get into the system and access different features, we are going to set up kind of an employee user, and this user will have the same access or minimal access, but it'll be the kind of the user that all of the employees log in with. So it sounds funny, but bear with me. We'll hop into this. So first off, we're going to go into our settings, and we're going to look at our users and companies, and we're going to look at users. So we're going to come down because I've created this hidden treasures employee profile, and I'm going to copy this. Actually, it's htemployee@mystrideretail.com. And then I don't remember the password that I set up for this, so I'm just going to create a new password. And I'm going to change that password. So I've created this user, and they have an employee profile. Not that they should or not, but this doesn't matter. But this user has access to these. Now, you'll see here like they have their user, so they're not an admin there. In sales, I typically recommend setting them up as a user all documents in case they need to be able to see different sales orders that were created and settle those in the point of sale. Point of sale, they're a user. This allows that this user to open the point of sale and close the point of sale. Billing, this gives them the ability to see customer invoices. Now, there's other levels of permissions for this type of user. I would just allow them to be billing, and you can go through and set these all around that you would want. For inventory, I'm allowing them to be a user in case they need to look at products. You may or may not want that. I don't have them able to purchase products, so I've removed any permissions from purchase. Project, if you're using that, they might want to be a user. Definitely not an admin. If you're not, you could remove it so you don't even see it in their profile. And then timesheets, their employees, I'm going to have them be an only kiosk mode employee, and then user. Attendances, they're going to be a user, and then I don't want them to see email marketing. And maybe if you're doing events, you might want them to have that. So this is kind of up to you. But these are my recommended settings. So you can go ahead and screenshot this, look at it if you want to go with it, and you can tweak it as needed for you. So now that I know that, I'm going to go ahead and log in as this. So I'm going to log out here, and then I'm going to log in as if I was an employee and kind of show you what this might look like. Actually, I might come back in for just a second, because I want to show you a couple of different things here. So before I log out and log back in as this user. So we have that. So I have this HT employee, and then I also want to show you in my employees profile. So if we it bumped me out for a second. If I go back into my users, I have 2 employees that I don't even have a user account for because I want them to use this Hidden Treasures employee. One is Heather and the other one is Frank. So you'll see in here there's no Heather or Frank. But if we come into my employees, you'll see I've got a Frank Gerard and a Heather McDonald. I've created them as employees, but I haven't given them a user login or anything like that because I mean you totally can, but I'll kind of explain why it might be easier to do like a point of sale login the way I've set this up. So you can see that they're there. So now that they're gone, I'm going to go ahead and log out here, and then I'll log back in as this HT employee, and I'll set this. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and log in now. Oh, it doesn't. I don't have access to edit the website, so I'm just going to come back to this back office, and you'll see it's a little bit different. And things are. I don't have quite as many permissions. Like I don't have the settings permission here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the attendances. So now that if I click on this, you'll see, and I'm going to go into kiosk mode because I want to select a user. So I have this set up. I have a scanning mechanism, and I'll show you the cards that you could use for that. I'll include a picture in this tutorial. But for now, I'm just going to identify manual, and I'm going to click on Frank Gerard. In the settings, I've set this up so that you have to have a PIN. You don't have to do this. It's totally up to you. For security, you can set up to say, hey, every employee needs to have a separate and unique PIN. So when they clock in and clock out, they have to put that PIN in. It helps prevent. I mean, I'm not going to say it prevents 100% because people might share their PIN. I would recommend that you don't, but Frank has to come in, and he's checking out for the day. Heather is the same way. I think she's already checked in, and so now she's checking in. So I couldn't remember if I checked her out before this or not. So she's checked in, and maybe we want to check Frank back in, and do that. And they're going to keep track of time. The nice thing about this is if you ever wanted to change this, and I have to move this so I can hit my back button real quick. You can, like, this person doesn't have access, this user doesn't have access to see any attendances. They can check in, check out as the HT employee, but I mean, this is just a generic user, so what does that matter? So every time someone needs to check out, they'll just need to go into kiosk mode, select their user, check in or check out, and then they can just click the back arrow and it'll take them back to this screen. So that's why, and you can see up here which user I'm logged in as. This is the Hidden Treasure employee. So that that way it's just a generic. You only have to manage one. You don't have to give new employees a unique login. Everyone can log in under the same one. They have the same access. For the point of sale, the other nice thing about this is I'm going to come open up this point of sale. You'll notice if I select my cashier, these are a list of all my employees. So here's Frank and Heather. So now I've set up, I can click Frank, let him in. You'll notice that Frank is the person up here that is logged in. Any sales at this point will be logged into Frank, and he'll be able to get credit for those if that's the way you're doing it. Or if there's a mistake, you can go back and say, hey Frank, this is an order that you did, what happened here. But that way, each employee is responsible for that. Now you'll notice as an employee, I don't have all of the buttons. As a manager, I have cash in and cash out, and I also have a close button. So if you give your employees permission to close, what they'll need to do is they'll need to grab the Hidden Treasure employee, and then now you'll notice that they can close this. And and close the register for the end of the day. The other thing that you might notice is because I'm logged in, even though I'm logged in as Hidden Treasure employee, I can still use this administrator employee, but I don't have the cash in and cash out. Oh, I do have the cash out button here. We've moved that, sorry. But if I were to protect this by a pin, then not everybody could do that. So you'll notice if I go back to Frank, that cash in and cash out button is gone. I also don't have the close. So you can kind of prevent that by saying, hey, this Hidden Treasure employee, even they don't, because they're not as a manager. So if you do have an admin or a user and an employee that has their own login and has that cash in and cash out button, that's again where we recommend that you set up a pin so that not everybody can access the cash in and cash out feature that the administrator has. So again, that's a general recommendation. Or closing. Maybe you only want to give closing permission to a certain employee that logs in at the beginning of every day. So there's a lot of different ways that you can set this up, but this again is kind of my recommendation that you create. So I'm going to go back and get out of this real quick and kind of recap what we've done today. So what we've done, and I've got to log out and back in so I can show you. It's going to take a second. It spins here. But what I want to really help recap is how I would set this up. So I'm going to, it always bumps me out there. I'm going to set this up so that I have a user that all of my employees log in under, and they're going to use this to open up the register at the end of the day. Maybe there's a manager that it's the Hidden Treasures manager, and they log in. But again, this is where I would use the employee login. And if you're going to have this as a general computer, set up your permissions. And again, I'm going to leave this here in case you want to kind of look at this. This is kind of my recommendation right now. And then I would set up employees that, and then in their HR settings, this is where you can set their pins and their badges. So we have the ability to, if you wanted to have badges for your employees, you could totally do that. And they can scan it in the point of sale and it'll switch automatically. They'll just have to scan it and then enter their pin. Or you can also use it for attendances. You'll notice in this HR settings there's no related user because this person does not have a user, they just have an employee profile. So this is where for my admin, if I don't want people being able to just select this in the point of sale and say, hey, I'm gonna be the admin today, even though I'm actually Frank, this is where I would set up a pin code. And you can make that as long or short as you want. And that makes it so that when you're in that point of sale, and maybe I'm just Frank, and I'm like, I'm going to game the system, I don't know the admin pin code. And I can't get in. But I do know my pin code, and I can get in and sell under my name. You'll notice earlier you can switch back and forth through here, and make that a seamless transition. You'll notice like I'm going to use my scanner. You can't see it, but I just scan Frank's badge. And I'm going to enter his PIN number, and then it's going to switch to Frank. I'm going to scan Heather's badge, enter her PIN number. That's going to go to her. And then if I try to select the admin and I don't know that code, then I couldn't become the admin. So that's why we have that PIN protection there, so that you can't just randomly switch the users or the employee in the point of sale. For the attendances, it's the same thing. If we go into, because I'm in as the admin, now you'll notice I have reporting and like I can see general attendances. I also have the configuration menu. But if I go into kiosk mode, I can scan Heather, and she's now clocked out. And I can scan Frank, and he's now clocked out as well. So hopefully that that helps a little bit in kind of showing you some different setup and what you can do with your employees and users. And then, like I said, just a quick recap. A user is someone that can actually log in to the system and has an actual login and password, and they're in the users of the company. A user does not have to be an employee, and an employee does not have to have a user. Sometimes you'll have people that maybe they do inventory and shipping and receiving. You'll want them to have an actual user profile and some different permissions maybe. And then you can set up employees and have them all use the same user profile to log in. But then when they're using the point of sale, you can have them select their employee, and things will be recorded to them. Hopefully that helps. Again, sorry for the length of this one. It's a little bit longer, but we want to make sure that you know how to kind of a good way of setting up your employees. And as always, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to our support team. Thanks.